Duh. Okay. L, can you hear me? L. Are you there, L? Okay, try it now. There you go. I don't know why it was clicked off, but it was. Okay, you can hear me? I guess you said yes. All right. I'm only showing we have one viewer, but well, 2 viewers now. So, first podcast, get the kinks out. I don't know what all that is. Oh, hold on. Notification. I have no idea. Anyway, first podcast. I want to discuss a few things. I know recently people have seen Miss Conrad and what she has posted pertaining to her daughter. So I want to touch on that. Plus, there's two other things that we need to talk about actually happening in our community that unfortunately aren't being addressed enough. There are three of the fastest growing things in our community, and they should be areas of concern for everybody in this community. And here's a little statistics just locally. As of March 6, 2023, we had 25 drug overdoses, 5 deaths. 10 of those overdoses was in a 2-day period. As of March 21st, 2023, we have had 51 drug arrests or citations. As of March 21st, 2023, we have 26 arrests pertaining to domestic violence. So that's just in the first 3 months. Okay. Statistics about mental illness is a lot harder because a lot of providers don't want to give out numbers or talk about things. So just pulling up statistics, you have 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness each year. 1 in 20 U.S. adults experience serious mental illness each year. 1 in 6 U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by age 14 and 75% by age 24. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14. It has been proven homelessness, drugs, domestic and intimate partner violence are 3 of the fastest growing issues in our community. Okay. And you put in the mental health. The mental health goes along with the homelessness and the drugs and the domestic and intimate partner violence. What I want to know is what's being done about it. I find myself constantly explaining to people, just like talking to Miss Conrad. One of the things that I've constantly explained to all 3 of my boys is the justice system works. Unfortunately, it's the people in the justice system that fail us. I can't say, I'm sure the mental health aspect of it is, and my guest can probably chime in with a better understanding because that's what this person does. But the mental health is not so much left in the hands of the prosecutors or the judicial system as much as it is uh, the people who evaluate and the lawmakers who do things like cases law and guardianship and stuff like that. So here in a minute, she'll talk about explain a little bit more about it. But again, I stress constantly, we get mad at law enforcement and they can only do so much. And then that's, they can go to point A to B and that's where they have to stop legally. And then you go to the prosecutors and they go from point B to C and that's where they have to stop legally. And then the judges go from C to D and that's where they have to stop legally. Now, the judges have a lot more leeway than anybody else. The problem is in just like with domestic violence, and the reason I get frustrated with the judges is because when it comes to the bonds and the conditional release and all of this and the constant violations of EPOs, DVOs, IPOs, the judges can exercise certain rights, but they don't because of the administrative office of the courts. That's their excuse. So yeah, I do get hard on the judges on that aspect of it. But as human beings, we honestly never grasp the reality of a situation until it directly impacts us. And then we ask why it happened to us. I will always tell people that I'm not a good person. And I honestly say that, and I mean it when I say it. I mean it with every ounce of my existence. I have done enough wrong in my life to cover every, I'm sorry, that's my phone, to cover every generation of my future bloodline. Okay. Chloe had not been murdered, I would not be talking to you right now. I would continuously be that guy that would say, oh, you could really leave if you wanted to. Every time I talk to a group of people, especially domestic violence victims, and every time, I get to MC an event or something, I always apologize. That's the first thing I do. I say, look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I was that guy. I was that asshole that would look at you and say, you can leave if you want to. There's nothing stopping you from leaving. In 4 years, I've learned a lot more. And I'm sorry for a lot of the things I said. But the reality of the situation is, had Chloe not been murdered, none of that would have changed for me. And that's sad. That's sad. I've learned the hard way about domestic and intimate partner violence. I've learned more about addiction and collaborations with the Warm Center than I could have ever known existed. I've collaborated with our county attorneys, Commonwealth attorneys, circuit court clerk, HPD, HCSO, and local victims advocates, and local counselors. And I've seen just how far we lack on certain local issues. So it's time we start discussing these issues. I can't speak a lot on the addiction. I can't speak a lot on the mental health, but we have people that can. And I'm hoping that, maybe my guest can explain a little more, like the issues that Miss Conrad's dealing with. But I feel for this lady. I do, because I know what it's like to lose a child. I don't want her to lose her daughter, but I think unless something drastic is done, that's going to happen. So with my guest, what's some of the things you think?
Okay,
Huh?
I mentioned. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're cutting out on me.
Okay. What?
I'm sorry, I'm getting on Slim, telling him get out.
Okay. The issue mental health is the both to we cannot formally get a person. Therefore, that causes where can we sit? Where can who's listening? In my professional opinion, I've had with what does my professional opinion mean? I can send over recommendations. I can send over, hey, you need to do something fast. Hey, I'm super worried about this person. But, again, my professional opinion is A, B, and C. However, who's following up with that?
So I guess my question would be to you is, Ms. Conrad has sent me very long text messages, and they're heartbreaking. And, she's saying, and I take everything, my father always taught me growing up, there's two sides to every story and there's the truth. It's your responsibility to figure out the truth. And so the way I've always dealt with finding truth in anything is that you listen to both sides and you see what is not conflicting. And you say, okay, so they're both saying this, and it's the exact same thing. So therefore, there's probably truth in that. Now she is saying, and I'm not asking you or anyone else to I don't want anyone to try to bash somebody or try to downgrade somebody or try to do anything like that. What do you think? Do you think that some of what she's saying is possibly true as far as, okay, well, her daughter was in this situation and, they had her, like the most recent situation.
Right.
Just from your experience, have you ever seen this happen? She said that, I think it was last week, her daughter was in the hospital and they ended up putting her in ICU because I guess of drugs, and it was fentanyl and stuff. And the doctor, the physician, was going to recommend her going to Western State, I think is what she said. And I guess whoever the counselor is, she says, this counselor came in and was like, no, she can be released. I mean, if that's happening, how do we stop that?
Well, that's part of the that's happened to you because anybody who works with tell by those cameras or the videos that is purely substance abuse issues going on. That's not your schizophrenic, that's not your psychotic, that's not A, B, and C mental health. That is clearly substance abuse. So whoever, and I will say this, whoever would discharge her, that would be on them. But I don't understand, and I'm not there, so I can't really say. But again, if a professional is seeing that, it's not bipolar. We get bipolar mixed up with substance abuse a whole lot of time. But, just seeing the videos that you posted, that's clearly substance abuse. And I know that the mother is super upset. She's saying it's mental. However, we cannot say that. We can't say that it's mental until we can get her completely clean. So again, when she's in the hospital, the doctor's saying Western State because she's out of her mind. But in reality, she needs to be detoxed. And that could take a number of, depending on her usage. I mean, she needed, and I guess it goes back to who is evaluating her at that point? I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
I have my mic off. I'm sorry. Okay, so people with mental health issues now, I've heard this a lot. So, I'm just asking your professional. People with mental health issues tend to self medicate. So, if that is true, then self medication would be the substance abuse part of it. So, I know in our talks that we've had before, for you to get to the mental part, you have to get them to a rehab facility and get them sober. And then you can do the evaluation. But how are we even going to do that part of it if what Mrs. Conrad is saying is true, that she can't even get her to the substance abuse to get her sober to get her evaluated mentally?
And again, I'm not there. However, what it looks like to me is that she is an adult, and it could be that somebody is not knowledgeable in mental or substance abuse or mental health, who is evaluating her. Unfortunately, when you go to the hospital, I am not downing, and I do not want anybody to think that I am downing anybody, but that's the community mental health. However, they do have a substance abuse, program. They are, very knowledgeable in that area. I don't know if it was just a person, there at that time that was not knowledgeable. But, typically they should have been evaluated at the time of entrance. And even if it's a 72-hour, they should have been evaluated after that. And you can still tell, this is drug induced or mental health. So I don't know if it's the training. I don't know if it's the, I'm not sure in that situation, but to me, I don't know if it's because she was an adult and they did not understand, what she needed because my mother was there. But at that point, like I said, I feel like Casey's Law needed to be put into effect again.
Hold on 1 second for me, Lord. Some people are having issues. So hold on 1 second for me. Stay in the waiting room. I've got to, I don't know, it didn't connect to Facebook for some reason.